Good morning. Good morning. Ray, how we doing?
Doing well, doing well. A little bit tired. Was up late watching the Phillies get yet another win, which was awesome.
Oh man, they're not stopping, man. Good for them. Good for them. You gotta keep the train going for the WGMI too. Now that we're all eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, mentioning it on the morning show, I'm sure everyone's getting sick of it, but it's been my good luck charm at this point. I can't get away from it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, look, guys, welcome to the 26th episode of the WGMI Morning Show. This is where we bring you everything and anything you need to know about the NFT market in 30 minutes or less. And we do it by using WGMI's various tools, whether it's the portfolio analytics, the the numbers behind what's pumping, what's dumping, or our newly released, about a month old NFT news feed. If you like some of the tools, you like some of the analytics that we are providing you, DM us the word news feed for a chance to win a 7-day trial to use our tools. We give one free trial away every single show. Some of the broader market news that we're going to cover today, we have Moonbirds achieving gold nest today. If you were a day one nester, although we're not sure if the rewards are going to be announced right away, we're going to keep a close pulse on that and be sure to update you on that as it rolls out. And tomorrow we'll do a nice little coverage on it. But we'll dive into possibly the last numbers beforehand and if this will be a positive or a negative depending on what the rewards are. Renga also dipped to 1.4 ETH last night. The community sentiment still seems overall strong, but we discussed kind of what goes into this correct valuation for what seems like a more art-based PFP collection versus being more utility focused. But as always, we'd appreciate if you retweet our tweet. If you are watching on Twitter, if you are watching on YouTube, our username is WGMI.io. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think of the show. It would be much appreciated. Moving on, though, to the market report. This is brought to you by WGMI's newsroom account. This is where we bring you some actionable news for your NFT portfolio. So be sure to follow that if you want some more of this. We post a market snapshot every single morning. Yesterday's open volume was $9.5 million. So still now back into the single digits. We'll see if it sees that rebound. Ethereum continues to chop. It's at $12.95 now. It's been holding steady for the last few weeks now, to be honest. But we haven't seen that big pump when it comes to OpenSea volume. NFT collection sorted by the 24-hour volume. We have CryptoPunks leading the way with 814 ETH in volume. They had 7 sales and are sitting at a 65.5 ETH floor. Apes doing 356 ETH in volume, only 4 sales. The 7-day listings on the downtrend now that things seem to have calmed down from that SEC announcement. Their floor is sitting at a 76 ETH floor on OpenSea, holding pretty steady. Digidaigaku having a 12 ETH floor, but only 4 sales causing that 240 ETH in volume. I believe they had a pretty big sale come in yesterday, Ray, so we can maybe unpack that later. We have ENS at number 4 with 225 ETH in volume. Other Deed 50 sales, 173 ETH in volume, almost a 1.7 ETH floor. Azuki and then Genuine Undead. Genuine Undead, their listings are starting to go down again. To be honest with you, I'm surprised they're holding up this 0.8 ETH floor. But it seems to be a bit organic, and maybe they'll have some more room to run. They might consolidate for a smaller or a short period of time before seeing that pump again. Ray, as you take a look at this dashboard and unpack some of the events from yesterday, any takeaways from you?
Yeah, so one thing I sometimes do, we curate our dashboard of projects that, have historical value, have, been pumping at one point, have some, relevance to the NFT market in general. Looking at them sorted by floor price, just to give you an idea of how illiquid some of these assets are. Looking at these are the shorter volume metrics we track: 1 hour, 6 hour, and 1 day. Look how many of these just aren't even filled in because there are no sales over those time periods for these high, floor price collections, over 10 ETH. Just not seeing a ton of liquidity in that upper end market. You're only seeing it in the PFPs and the QQL Mint Pass. Outside of that, looking at actual QQLs, a good amount of these expensive art blocks, projects, nouns, etc. You're just not seeing any movement over the last day, and definitely nothing in the last 6 hours, 1 hour on these larger blue chip projects, which is a bit concerning. Definitely a worry with low liquidity. If you do have a number of people exiting the market, that floor price can really suffer. Just something to be aware of, and I keep track of. I take a look at these numbers every once in a while to see where the volume falls for these higher floor price projects that then move the needle a bit for each sale.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Autoglyph when I believe it was a week and a half ago or so, had their first sale since early July. I believe it was July 4th. So you went almost 4 months basically without a sale. That can't be easy. But I mean, this is already a step up in terms of liquidity compared to the traditional art market, right? If you're in the traditional art market with some of these finer pieces, it's extremely hard to find a buyer or a seller without having to use a middleman. So this is already, I think, a next in this process in terms of finding that extra liquidity for some of these finer pieces. When I'm looking at the 30-day, the 30 days, Ray, in terms of volume, I added this column. You can see, okay, Autoglyph had that 235 ETH sale. Justin Aversano had 60 ETH, and then 2,000 ETH in Fidenza sales. So you see some volume for some collection, but with some of these fine art pieces, you only have one sale in like 30 days or like 100 ETH in volume for something that has like a 75 ETH floor. So yeah, I mean, it is dry, and obviously compared to the bull run that we had earlier the year, it is a lot calm, and the money is going to where the attention is going, at least for the time being. But you do see some of these bigger sales every once in a while.
Yeah, just an interesting point. Just to point out, for sure. Just looking at that volume, and I know patience is thin in the NFT market. Do these holders of these collections with these larger counts than a traditional maybe IRL art edition? Do they have the patience to continue to hold? Are they going to be trying to jump out? I'm a bit concerned that maybe the profile for an NFT art collector may not have that long-term of a vision as a traditional art collector, and there's just potential with low liquidity, low volume for some of these floor prices to suffer. Just something to be aware of. I mean, now is probably a good time to buy, as there isn't much moving. Any kind of undercutting on the floor is going to continue to undercut until there are these sales. So something to keep an eye on going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Something to definitely keep track of. But Ray, that's all I have from the dashboard. I'll let you take it from here as far as the news goes whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you. So anyone listening right now, you probably want to head over to AI Worm, Clonex Corp on Twitter. They said their side quest is starting at 10:30 Eastern. That was 9 minutes ago. As you can see here, there are a number of polls. We need to be answering these polls. I believe answering these could have some sort of effect on eligibility for whatever collab is going on. They say anyone can participate. They've hinted that it involves the Ramoa collab. This is basically like an AI worm that's supposed to be protecting the ship from some virus. But head over there if you're watching right now, participate, click on some of these different polls, like posts, etc., to make sure that if they are looking at that, you are being included in any snapshots they're taking there. We had 2 new mintless raffles from Zen Academy, Friday Beers, and Techie Club. Head over to our newsfeed to get those links out. If you're holding a Zen Academy asset, you can access those links directly from our newsfeed. We've talked about this one a bit in the past few days. The Ledger airdrop for the black on black claim token has completed this morning. We're talking about where we thought this would be priced, etc. It looks like we're at 0.09, a bit above your expectations.
Yeah, well, when you translate that to the 0.095, it translates to about $115, $120, which is still below what the black on black Nano sells for, or what the Nano X sells for. Just in general, this is a black on black, so it could have that extra type of collectible vibe to it. When I look at while you're pulling that up, what I was looking at today was how did the chart look for the month of October for this market pass? You saw it peak at that 0.39 valuation, but it seems like the announcement here, when they announced that this snapshot was going to be happening, it was sitting at a 0.3-ish floor, maybe a little bit lower. So if you're able to get in at 0.3, possibly sell. I don't know. There wasn't too much action, to be honest with you. So either way, like it wasn't one of those where the snapshot immediately after dips below, like we talk about, like the dips below further than the value of the airdrop, right? Like what happened with Castaway yesterday. However, what I will say is that, like with these types of drops, when there is a real life tangible value you can attach to it, definitely makes these a little bit more predictable and less volatile.
Yep, definitely interesting to see. I'm looking at the price here of the actual Nano, the Nano X. We're looking at 150 retail for the standard Nano X on their website. So I think, like we kind of talked about a bit, this is a bit, you're getting a discount on the physical by purchasing this NFT, and it's a limited edition, special edition ledger as well, which I think we expected as well, because people it's basically an open edition that has a price cap on it. I don't know if anyone's buying the ledger for the special edition. If they're buying it here, they may just be buying it to get a discount off the standard price. And I think that's what we expected, and that's what we talked a bit about on the show as we came up into this airdrop.
Right. I know Dikendas is saying, how about them bricks? I know that was their first kind of collab that they did. I wonder how they're doing. I know they didn't fully mint out, if I remember correctly, and they kind of changed their supply. But I did see they hosted their first event. But yeah, it was tough. And I think that's kind of their main appeal is like, hey, Ledger's going to be able to secure some of these partnerships and get some mint list spots for holders. But doesn't seem like the first one went too well.
Yeah, so we're looking at 0.055 floor on these. That is below mint price, I believe, for these. Interesting idea that they have there with marrying it with a physical venue, and I believe they have some experience in the space, and they actually have hosted a music event there with artists I've actually heard of. So definitely interesting from that point of view. I think from an investor point of view, this let you down a bit looking at what's going on. It looks like we have a number of collabs coming up. We have Agoria coming in October. We'll dig into this a bit, see exactly what's going on here. Probably summarize this on the news feed at some point today. But we also have, a Dead Fella is coming soon, an Artifact, Jen Stark, and then we already saw the Brick. So interesting to see these collabs. Definitely some bigger names here. Maybe some of these could move the needle, and we'll continue to watch this going forward as they can continue to partner with respected projects in space. Moving back to the news, we do have the Golden Skateboard installation opening today in Hong Kong. We see, I believe, a picture here of the installation coming from Azuki's official Twitter. Looking at kind of this little graphic they put together of the skateboard installation. We're going to have the auction as well during this week for the physical gold-plated skateboards. Interesting to see what those sell for. I'm definitely going to be very curious. I think they're in their target market, and I think they built hype, and I think it's a unique item. So we'll see how they sell, and I think that's going to have a bit of an impact on the price of the NFT assets, be it Azuki, Beans, etc.
Yeah, I think people will be looking to see, hey, what do these things go for, and how much pull does Azuki have with the higher end community? What I did like is the lack of time, or they announced this Golden Skateboard event was going to be happening on Friday, and now they're doing the event the next week. Like it wasn't that lag in time where it's like, hey, we're announcing it. It's like, we're going to do this next week, boom, boom, boom. And they're moving with it. So they're continuing to capture that attention.
Yeah, there's cadence is definitely sped up. I know we were talking a bit last week saying like, hey, maybe there's something else coming after this, Friday release of information, but normally they're a couple weeks away. They had those calendars on the Azuki World that were about a month away from their big news events. They pretty much stuck to that, and we were saying like we might have a couple weeks to capitalize on Bean entry, but it looks like that window could be potentially closing. Successful auction, more attention here, maybe some more news on the Beans could definitely change that. And speaking of Beans, I think you jumped in last night, right?
Yeah, I got in a 0.9 WETH offer. Pretty excited about it. I set up my collector profile, and it gave me the little badge for setting it up within the first week, which is pretty cool. I loved the way it looked, the overall insight. And I think, to be honest with you, it's inevitable that they move to a safe trading or a marketplace style piece to help like OTC trading or peer-to-peer trading, whatever it might be. I do see them pivoting to that, but it was cool to see that. And I really like the way it was built out.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Azuki ecosystem and you look at their trading, I believe the majority of the floor occurs on pseudo swap. One of the higher end collections, it has like a good amount of listings on pseudo swap for floor assets. Some of these are flagged, obviously, but there are some. Maybe one legitimate, but you have to look into it to figure out if it is indeed legitimate. But I know pseudo swap is a method that people tend to sell Azukis with. That I think the community may prefer some of that lower fee trading. So having their own marketplace makes a ton of sense in terms of maybe charge like a 1% fee and then it goes to the Azuki community as opposed to going to another marketplace.
Right. And I know, I think only with these types of ecosystems where they're commanding a certain type of 30-day volume across all ecosystems, where you can go and as a team go, okay, this is something that makes sense. Let's allocate resources towards this and it's sustainable. But like you look at the Chimpers marketplace, I think I heard it somewhere that they haven't had a sale in like 2 weeks. So that's one where it's like, hey, that maybe doesn't make as much sense if you're doing, or if you have X amount of floor, X amount of sales.
Yeah. What did it cost to set up and what does it cost to maintain that market versus what are you getting out of it in terms of revenue? Definitely something you need to consider, but some of these projects that do have that amount of volume on the traditional marketplaces could expect to see some of that translate over. And I think that we'll see aggregators picking up some of these marketplaces. We may see some like white label standard marketplaces being released that are easy to aggregate, that a Gem, a Genie, and some of these other up and coming aggregators can jump on and aggregate. That would make a lot of sense. Moving on, we had, speaking of marketplaces, the House of First and Remarkable marketplace is open. I believe this is where you can redeem different points and accrued for House of First in the House of First ecosystem for different NFTs. We have all the information here. It looks like there's a couple artworks from Rachel Winter, some open editions as well that may be available to mint. We have all that information right here on the newsfeed. We see the Sotheby's bidding ending for their ESPA launch. A couple of those are ending today, and I believe there's an open edition. I actually minted this open edition looking at its price. It was like 0.05. I figured I have the Salgado. I'll mint this at 0.05. I'll just maybe hold one of each of these, Sotheby's launches if they're at reasonable price points to see if it does have any kind of benefit in the future. It looks like this sold for 9,500 USD. Definitely a bit underwhelming. You're looking at a little less than 8 ETH. This is a 1 of 1 here. It's basically like a 3D dreamscape artwork, essentially. But they have a number of different collections here. There's like statues. There's the open edition that's available to buy. And then there's a couple different lots here of the different statue editions. I'm gonna be watching these just to see, what some of these sold out for, how Sotheby's is doing in general, how they're, taking an approach to the Web3 market, being that they already have established themselves in the fine art market. It's definitely interesting and valuable to see what's going on here. It's like 1,800 ETH on this statue, or 1,800 USD on the statue, just a little bit over 1 ETH. Something to keep an eye on, something I'm monitoring. And like I said, I minted that open edition just to hold one of those at a reasonable price point. If this takes off and you have some of these original Sotheby's NFTs, maybe there's some value there.
Yeah, and I believe. So you're talking about Dream Space, right?
Yes.
So they're going to be holding a space, I believe, later today to talk a little bit about it. Wait, no, that's with the next drop that they're going to be doing. So they're going to.
Yeah, I think we talked about this too. Like the pacing seems to be going very quickly.
They're cranking them out.
Are they doing enough marketing for each one? Are they giving each one its due diligence? Is the question. And are they really maximizing what they can be returning on each of these, or are they just going for pure volume? Another thing to take a look at and watch. Moving on to the Bored Apes, we have an update on all the AIPs. We summarized their thread on the AIPs here. You can dive in, see which ones are new, see which ones are reviewed, what's been passed, and have the links to the voting as well. Keeping you up to date on all the Bored Ape ecosystem news here. We do see a a utility here for the quantum key holders. 25 spots are reserved for LA-based key holders for the Monolith quantum event. This is not the Artifact Monolith event. It is a different one. It's an IRL gallery event tomorrow, 5:30 to 9:30 Pacific time. So if you hold a quantum key, you're interested in going to this gallery, be sure you take a look here. We have all the links as well. We saw that Staple. We talked about Stapleverse and Guttercats kind of collabing. We do see a bit where you can sign up for updates for the collection. You can get email updates. I'm not sure this is going to affect your eligibility or not, but if you do have that spam email account, I would recommend maybe signing in here, making sure you're a list that you could potentially have access or eligibility based on snapshotting the email addresses used to sign up for this more information link here. But just something to point out there. That should be an interesting collab. I know Jeff Staple has a good amount of following in the streetwear community. Seems like a good partnership for Guttercat Gang. They have the pigeons. I know the pigeon is kind of Jeff Staple's main icon and logo there for his Staple brand. Talking about some more streetwear merch, Cyberkong's released a streetwear merch line. These looked pretty cool, I thought, when I was looking at them yesterday. They're not like terribly in your face NFT, pretty minimal. You have the graphics on the back, but the front is very kind of minimal for the most part. I don't know what you think about these, Clemente.
Yeah, they seem okay. I mean, pretty bland, to be honest with you. I don't know too much about the not a fan, to be honest with you. I wouldn't wear it personally. Seems it's like something more targeted towards your holders, which is fine. The ones that when you look at merch, I think something that I would be the most successful is anyone wants to wear it, regardless of whether they're into NFTs or not. And I don't think that's something that would apply here. Yeah, all these bland ones seem fine, but
yeah, this is a pretty like muted toned down one. Yeah, is it worth $109? Yeah, all right. Good to hear from our resident fashion expert in Clemente here. I love to hear his take on all the merch. A few raffles for the Vayner sports community. There's Friday Beers Allow List raffle. We've seen this a number of places now. This raffle link is on our newsfeed. We also have the raffle for Black Card number 61. Anyone who successfully claimed the Black Card participation trophy are eligible to win this. That was claimed by participating in any of those Black Card auctions. So be sure if you have that participation trophy, you enter into this. Black Card 61 will have some value. We saw that In-N-Out Burger applied for a few NFT patents yesterday. It was interesting to see applying for metaverse trademark patents, entertainment services, online retail, temporary use of non-downloadable software. So a number of different metaverse patents, trademarks filed for In-N-Out Burger, which is interesting to see. I think we're going to see more of these Web2 companies seeing the money that was to be had here. I don't know if this is just the lag after the bull market and these people are finally, getting this stuff rolled out, or they, are still looking at it and saying, hey, we want to build and we think this is the technology that, is going to win out going forward. So definitely interesting to watch. Interesting to see more of these companies jump in.
I think partially you'll see it as more of a precautionary thing. Is like the intern is maybe like, hey guys, I'm super into NFTs. Like we gotta at least file a patent to it, and that's step one. And they're like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll file it. I don't know if it's something that's like, hey, that this is something a little bit more serious. To be honest, In-N-Out doesn't necessarily fit my what we've been talking about. Is like doesn't fit my style of company. That's like is a bit on the tail end of their career. That's then looking to repurpose it using NFTs. So if that does happen, it would be interesting to see, and that would be a great step forward to see.
Yeah, for sure. We saw Parallel Alpha announcing some details on their comic drop. We see the comics coming October 29th, a few weeks from now. Some information on the supply, on the collector's edition, first edition, and prime edition. The way these drops are working is that you basically buy one and then it's kind of random what rarity you get, which is interesting. They're not charging different price points for each of the comics. Interesting to see that. We'll be watching that as well. We know we have a good amount of Parallel Alpha holders who use WGMI, and we're keeping you updated on the Parallel Alpha news as we see it come across. We have a Proof and Moonbirds allow list for Life in Our Minds. Their last allow list was pretty valuable in the Art Pass, that Iconic Moments Art Pass, which is selling I think above 1 ETH last time I checked. But another allow list access for an art focused product here. I don't know if we want to dive into a bit about Moonbirds now. We have that nesting coming up. We have the gold nesting. Seeing if they're going to be like releasing the information on that today. What we could potentially see for Moonbirds and Oddities going forward. I have a chart here that I've saved. We've been talking about Oddities. We've been eyeing Oddities. Spencer from Spencer Ventures, he's always on the Nifty Show. He kind of spoiled our plans a bit, jumping in before we could. Last night he had a very large sweep on Oddities, driving the price. We were sitting at 1.3 yesterday. We're now at 1.5. Listings continuing to drop as I think he swept 40 or so of those off. We're sitting at 282 listings. We were at 290 yesterday. So listing count continues to drop ahead of the gold listing news.
I like pulling up all of this just to show the bigger picture. So as far as Oddities and Moons, their listings are the lowest they've been since pre-reveal of the Oddities. And after that, both seem to go up after the disappointment with some of the art behind it. So they've kind of been down ever since. But before these catalysts, the listings do tend to go down and then go up after. So if you were to ask me, like, hey, where is this going to go going forward? I think this, no matter what Oddities does or Moonbirds does, you're going to see a spike here in listings just because everyone's leading up to it. They're holding up. It's like pre-reveal. They want to hold it to see what happens. So I don't think a lot of people are wanting to sell before, considering that they haven't seen too much price action around it. But either way, like I expect listings to go up either way, even if it is bad news or good news as people sell the news typically. But other than that, Ray, I mean, I know we're going to be seeing that later this afternoon. What do you feel like the market is excited for it? Do you feel like they're pretty much it might be just a non-event and you're not going to see too much sentiment around it?
I feel that the market is treating it optimally, to be honest. I think there is a lot of hype around Silver Nests, and we really haven't heard much up until this week, really. Like people are like, oh, gold nester this week. I think we might have mentioned it like late last week on our show, but it hasn't been a focus. It hasn't been a major catalyst. I mean, we did see the big sweep by Spencer yesterday ahead of the news. Like, I think he's hoping that we're going to see bullish news out of this. I think we might. I'm more long-term with my oddities, so maybe I would take a risk that we see bearish news. Like it doesn't live up to expectations, however low they may be. And then it'll create, another drop in price where I can enter in again before 2023. If it's bullish news, if it overachieves, if people, were really happy with it, you see the price continue to run on Moonbirds and then oddities, as well, then I think that we might have missed the boat to enter in before Mythics. I think that the time frame is getting shorter by the day until 2023 and Mythics drop, depending on when it drops in 2023. But I think if there is bullish news coming out of it, I think we've missed the boat on playing that patience play.
The only thing that I think could push oddities down as far as floor goes into like the 1.1s or maybe 1 ETH would be like, hey, Mythics burning or whatever it's going to be, it's going to start March or like later than expected as far as like maybe Q2 2023. Seems like the market is expecting something around January, February. But if they push that back, then we could see something where we can then get in again. But other than that, like, I think this is going to be something like keep going anyway.
No.
Enough about the hobby. We can. I love talking about this. You fire me up. I'll talk about it for hours.
Yeah, I think that we definitely could talk about it. We have talked about it a bit, but definitely watching news. I may sell into good news, and I'd be hoping to buy into bad news. So something to keep an eye on. Other things to keep an eye on. JY, our contributor here, has listed a number of upcoming mints to keep an eye out for. So we have meme land that we've been talking about that, a bunch. If you're in the potatoes ecosystem, this is going to be a big drop. Make sure you're following, all of that information, any chance you can to get on an allow list or have an ability to mint that is going to be profitable. as well as Art Gobblers. We brought them up on the show before in our upcoming drops. Another, pretty valuable project. Proof just did a deep dive on these as well. Justin Roiland, part of the Rick and Morty team. Interesting project here with some gamification mechanics, some art mechanics, community mechanics. Definitely one to watch. Valhalla. I haven't been looking into this too closely, but it has had a good amount of hype. I believe it's focused around gaming, and they eventually want to get into the esports space. Something to watch. I believe it's one of those that you have to apply to get into. So keep an eye out there. See what you can do. If you need to apply, I recommend doing it. Any opportunity to mint that should be profitable. And we've been talking about Project 555 going under the Twitter handle Tim Nifties. That's up to 12.4K followers. We alerted you when that was, I think, under 100 or under 200, something like that when it first dropped. So we've been following this one all along on the WGMI Morning Show. Definitely take a look at some of these projects. We have them all linked out on our news feed. Take a look at them, see, make sure you take advantage of any opportunities you may see. I always turn on notifications for these projects, look for any allow list opportunities, et cetera, that could take, low effort for potential high reward. Yesterday, we saw the World of Women Gala tickets go live. I'm not sure if these are sold out yet. I don't know what the status is. I know that Matoshi posted this link up pretty quickly after they went live. So make sure you check that out. If you're going to Art Basel and you want to attend this event, you hold a WoW token. Make sure you register via the Token Proof website. We talked about the gold nesting rewards, so we can skip over that one. And watching out for today, we talked about this yesterday, is that Art Block's curated drop at 1 p.m. Eastern, 2 hours from now. I'll be watching that. Primitives by Aranda Lash. We're looking at a 4 ETH starting price. It's going to be Dutch auction falling. It's going to rest at 0.25. I do not think it will get there. I am not too sure it will go under half an ETH, but we'll see. I'm going to be jumping in when there's volume. This is the last series designated Art Blocks curated drop. So maybe there's a narrative there where there could be some value. It's the last one. You'll need to complete a set of all the series. It's the final curated series designation, maybe some historical value there. Want to be watching out for sure today. But that wraps it up for the newsfeed. What else have you been looking out for today, Clemente?
Yeah, one of the things that has stuck out to me has been the media NFTs have been on the uptrend recently. I know we've been talking about Nifty has been one that we've talked about before, just because they have their drop with Bodega Buddies as being a catalyst. But I was looking at Rug Radio, and they're sitting at not an all-time high, but a local high at 0.32 ETH. They are up. The reason I talk about it is they came up on my indicators as far as decrease in listings and high amount of sales. So we're seeing some traffic around them, which is definitely encouraging. Whether or not they're going to continue to fly for me, I do see these media companies as a long-term play. I was listening to Pio and Farouk talk about media companies right now in these bear markets, and yeah, look at these sales, right? So sales are starting to pick up for a great. Not sure if something going on, a potential catalyst, but they've been talking about how, hey, we're one of the few NFT projects that actually has a revenue source built out to where we can charge these advertisers 5, 6, 7 ETH per show to come on for 30 minutes. And because we have such a big audience, it's something where we're here to build like a big brand. What other startups have these kinds of valuations or already a revenue source? Last thing I'll say on them is I was thinking about the thing that's held me back from getting into these in the past. It's like, what am I going to get from it? Right. Or like, let's say these things blow up. Let's say this media company blows up. What is the benefit that I get as an NFT holder? And Peel talked about the idea behind like Barstool Sports, right? Like, what if you held Barstool Sports NFT back in the day? What you would probably get is an inside look at like content and how it's delivered, the thought process behind what Dave Portnoy has in running his media company, tips and tricks so you can do it yourself, inside look at content behind the scenes. So I think when you put it that way, to me, I'm like, hey, that's something that I like making content. I like getting into this side of things. So to me, the Nifty show or the Nifty portal or the Rug Radio Genesis NFT seems like a good buy if you like that kind of aspect of it and you believe that these could blow up in the future.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's interesting too, though, I mean, Pia is a very, against gating content. He doesn't like, having anything being token gated. So, I mean, holding that NFT from that point of view isn't really getting you more of an inside look. I guess it's giving you, some interest, and maybe you're paying a bit more attention as you have a financial investment. I think where you get is you get like secondary benefits. You get maybe more opportunities to partners. You get, I can imagine. So like if you said you used the Barstool Sports example, like what if they, had an NFT released, a Genesis NFT back when they first launched that was funding them? Like what collectible value does that have? So I think there may be just collectible value along owning it. I know they have plans for a PFP or you'd be burning this for the PFP that may have additional value and utility going forward. I don't believe they're token gating much of their content or like any of their, anything that is going to be drawing in a bigger audience. I think that's smart for a media company. I think they need to be providing their content and bringing in as many people as they can. But if they can provide other utility to holders, that's really where the value is for the NFT. Is that in that
right,
utility.
whether it's meetups or whatever that might be, as they develop partnerships and then as a result provide that to their holders. But yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. I was like, hey, like the whole point of a media company is not to token gate content, is to try to get as broad of an audience as possible. So that was my thought. I was like, hey, well, why do I want to hold this thing to begin with? When you put it that way, when you start exploring about, hey, don't look at it now, but what about 3 years from now if they do blow up? If NFTs get more adopted and their audience is going to get bigger, like who's going to be in the forefront of it? It's going to be the Nifty Show. They have 2,000 people tune into their morning show.
Yep, definitely. Love their content. They do a good job of balancing, quality content, entertainment. They have a loyal base. They have an active Discord. They, make good plays there. Super degen, very NFT Web3 native. So love that community. And, definitely, I mean, I hold a number. I think I hold like 7 portals now. So I've been adding them over time. I minted one originally. That's a community I've been following since I started in the space over a year ago.
The last thing I'll touch on here for today is Renga. So Renga's continuing to dip. They're sitting at a 1.4 ETH floor. What sticks out to me about it is they've dipped continuously for the last 2 weeks after hitting a local top of 2.7 ETH. What I'm thinking about now is like, so I put a tweet about it saying like, hey, what's community sentiment like? Are people happy about it? I know they haven't, like Renga hasn't posted on Twitter in about 3 weeks, basically. Are people happy about that? What's the expectation? You see kind of two sides of it. One side is like, hey, this is an art-driven NFT. We're not really worried about all these different things. And then you see other people that are like, hey, I would like to see more of it. Possibly people that bought in after it pumped a little bit. But my main takeaway is like, okay, if this is an art-driven NFT, what makes this thing not be overvalued? Like, what gives it the $20 million market cap that it commands right now at a 10,000 piece collection for an artist? Like you were mentioning it earlier, like at some point it was commanding a larger market cap than the currency by Damien Hirst, which is crazy. Like I don't care necessarily how big this, how great this art is, which I think is fantastic. Is it worth 1.4 ETH right now? I think that's the main question. And we'll continue to see that play out as time goes on. But I'm curious what you think, Ray.
Yeah. I mean, I think that people are looking at it like it's not a true art play. I think that's the only rational, explanation to think, and that there is more utility coming. They did have the Art of Seasons. I believe they, did bill that as having this utility for Renga eventually through the black boxes, or that would be a utility, like packed NFT. So this being just as art, I think people are looking at it like, hey, the art's cool, definitely like it, but I think there's more coming, and I think that's why we see that price speculation. And the longer that there isn't more coming, we'll continue to see that drop. I think we went back and looked at our show, a week or two back when we saw that listings drop and the price drop, and we were like, oh, this could be an entry point, but or is this like that the time when that project has hit its peak, it's now fading and slowly kind of low attention, low number of sales, even though the listings are dropping and the floor is dropping, you're just not seeing enough sales, enough volume to drive that floor price back up.
Right. You can make the argument that Renga's undervalued right now, but it's like, well, compared to what? Compared to its top? Yes. Compared to its top, everything is undervalued right now in the market that we're in. But it's a matter of trying to figure out that true valuation, figure out what your entry point is, what you'd be happy with it. What are you going to hold this thing no matter what? What's your entry point? What's your exit point? And I think at this price, like I was saying earlier, like, okay, would I rather have a Renga at 1.4 or would I rather have an Oddities? I'm going to go with Oddities over the long term because I know what's going to come from it.
Yeah, I think you have that same quote from that other show. You said, would I rather have a Renga at 2 ETH or would I rather have a bean and an Oddie? I'd rather have a bean and an Oddie. And that play would have paid off for you handsomely, to be honest. And now you see the Oddity is worth the Renga alone, not let alone the bean that would be worth an extra ETH.
Right, but overall, like this type of, I think it's great to have this. Like as an artist, it's worth having these expectations. Like I think there is room for Renga in this world. I think this is what's going to continue to shift the market. Is like not every single PFP collection needs to be run a specific way just to fit degens, but projects are almost incentivized to run their projects that way because it means they can reach a broader audience. But as the audience expands, as the space grows over time, you won't have to necessarily be forced to run your project a specific way just to cater to some of these people's needs. And that'll possibly, as a royalty discussion shifts, and possibly you're not necessarily as incentivized to make the floor price go up or down as an artist or running your project, we might see that change over time.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Looking at the time, though, we're running 10 minutes over as usual, unfortunately. I don't know if we have another story to cover, or we're just about ready to wrap up.
I think we're ready to go, Ray. That's all I have for the day. Heck of a show. Yeah, we'll keep everyone posted on Moonbirds today. But if everyone for everyone that was listening today, be sure to join us tomorrow at the same time, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 a.m. Eastern for episode number 27. Can't wait to break down Moonbirds and what else happens in the market today.
Yep. Thanks again for listening. If you want to have access to any and all of the tools you've seen us use and talk about on the show today, head over to WGMI.io and mint our all access beta NFT. Gives you access to portfolio, newsfeed, project explorer, wallet history, data analytics, custom charting, all of these features and more. And we're adding to it every single day. Mint your NFT now gives you access through the end of the year and gives you a discount on access going forward. WGMI.io. Thank you for listening. See you guys all again tomorrow. We're going to make